Okay, well, thank you very much for your question. I think the main thing that I would like to see, and also the Welsh Liberal Democrats would also like to see, is to reduce the backlog, particularly with a lot of with the PIP payments, because I realise that a lot of people on disability benefits have suffered greatly over the past 5 years, and I do think that it is an embarrassment for this government that there has been such a backlog. I think our benefit system, okay, has been very complex in the past, and it has needed reform. And when you look at the ideas which have come about, they might seem good at first, but the reality is they haven't quite worked. So I think one of the key things to do is to make sure that everything that has which has disadvantaged disabled people over recent years gets put right, and I think the backlog is one of them. The other thing I would like to see is I'd like to see greater opportunity for disabled people to get the opportunity to go into the workplace, because again, too many disabled people I feel are not being given the chance by employers. And I do think one of my party's principles is that any job interview, any job you apply for, and you meet the criteria for that job, you should automatically be shortlisted for that. So that would be one of my other key areas. But I do think the other key issue is actually the support network, because I attended a meeting of Contact the Family last night, okay, and I was quite shocked at the lack of support many of those families have. So I do think that we need to work harder as a society to give those people that extra support that is necessary. But from a personal point of view, I want to listen to all your concerns, and you'll always have a friend in me if I was elected.
I would just like to start off by saying the closure of Remploy all over the country, especially in Wrexham, well, it was a disgrace. That really shouldn't have happened. It was such a wonderful facility for disabled people to get along to. It had been there for so long, and the closure, well, it was just very sad. You know, I thought it was really awful. We need far more facilities for the disabled. As I say, Remploy is gone. I don't think there are many more facilities being in the pipeline, to be honest. As always, it probably boils down to money again. More money needs to be pumped into this, as with everything else, but we really need to get organisations like Remploy up and running again. And also, of course, far too many cuts in the pay for the disabled. It's really going down and down. It's very worrying for these people, and you know, we must look into that again. But we need far more facilities for the disabled, definitely. Thank you.
I think one of the first points I'd make is that we know that disabled people have been hit disproportionately by this cuts agenda that we've seen from Westminster, and I'm very worried that unfortunately over the next 5 years that we could potentially get more of the same. So I think we need some strong voices in Westminster arguing for an alternative to austerity, because it hasn't got to be people who are disabled, it hasn't got to be the most vulnerable in our society who bear the brunt of paying down the deficit, and that's what's happening at the moment, and that's something we desperately need to change. So I think that's one area where we can have you know, a big impact in terms of, you know, making sure disabled people aren't bearing the brunt of those cuts. In terms of something specifically local, I was talking to somebody earlier on who mentioned that actually Wrexham Council don't take work placements for some of the disabled people she's working with. She was telling me that the Ramada do, even Pizza Hut do, but Wrexham Council don't. So just on a very practical level, just looking at some of my colleagues here, maybe we can all go back to our respective parties and put some pressure on the local council to actually give some help there, because there are things that can be done that don't all boil down to funding if the will is there to do them. So on a local level, I think that's something that we could all take up after today, which has been an interesting point that's been raised. Thank you.
So if I stand up, so I can't say anything back from that. The first thing I do, as I said before, is to listen to you, to talk to you, and to maintain a dialogue with you, to actually find out what you want. Because it's all very well and good me deciding what's important to you, but actually events like this prove, exactly what you want, exactly what is making life difficult for you, exactly what would make life easier for you. So I'd always want to be in constant communication with you to find out what is important to you and what would make life better for you. I agree wholeheartedly with what Rob said on the end. I think he hit the nail on the head with a lot of really, really good points. I think any changes to welfare have been very difficult over the last few years, very difficult indeed. And we need to make sure that disabled people are looked after, they're not put under pressure, because it can be very difficult for people's lives. We've got to keep growing the economy to make sure that we've got a really strong economy that can provide the sort of, the welfare that we need for people, because we have to have the money to pay for everything. And I think that is very important. We need, as Brian said, we need more services for people with disability. I agree with disabilities, and I agree with Carrie that we need to take every opportunity to make sure you can get work placements, you can get the support you need, and especially from large organisations like the council. I think that's an excellent point that she made. And we've got to carry on the work. This government has done, I think, a pretty good job of helping disabled people back into work who want to have work, and I think we need to build on that to make sure there's more opportunities. And that can be with mainstream companies. I want to see people getting jobs where they can really, the sorts of jobs that they'd like to get and where they can be supported. So I'd like to build on that, to talk to you and really to help you lead the kind of lives that you want to lead, get the kind of jobs that you want to get and you feel comfortable doing, but actually making sure that you've got the support you need to do that as well. Who's next?
Look, you are citizens. We are citizens. We're all the same. All right? Whether you've got a disability or not, you're a citizen. Yeah? I've got all sorts of things wrong with me. I won't go into it now, but we are all citizens. So we all have the same rights. So what the Green Party is saying is, in the long run, we all ought to have the same basic income, okay? Guaranteed. So you don't have to worry. So that if you want to go out and work, you can work. If you want to go out and volunteer, you can volunteer. If you want to get involved in community groups, you can do that. If you want to do something to improve the environment, you can do that, okay? And if you want to go out and earn pots of money, you can do that too. And then we'll start taking tax off you, all right? So we're saying that you've got a basic right to as much as every other citizen in this country. We put, in our manifesto, we put £1 billion aside for disability benefits. We're also going to improve the carers allowance. We're going to do, there's a lot of things there's a whole section in our manifesto on what what we can do for people with disabilities. But I think the main thing is, we're all citizens together. You've got as much rights as we have, and we need to reinforce that.
There is a real lack of faith and belief in the systems that the government is using at the present time to deal with applications by disabled people and the benefits that they receive. So what I think we need to do, what the Labour Party wants to do, is to have disabled people having a voice in the running of those systems, to speak out loud and clear, to say that the PIP system is a shambles, to say that it's wrong to introduce the bedroom tax, to say that we are not being properly looked after and supported by the present system. And it's vital that the systems are monitored and that disabled people have a voice in working out a system that we can believe in. Labour will abolish the bedroom tax that has affected particular disabled people particularly badly, and we regard that as something that is extremely important and must happen without any delay. And because I believe in fairness, I think the opportunity that is given to disabled people to develop their own potential and to work and to contribute to society must be maximised. And we need to work very hard together to ensure that the skills of disabled people are used for the benefit of society as a whole. So there needs to be a complete rethink of the way that the system works at the present time, because I've seen in my searches of the past 5 years, the damage that has been caused to individual lives by the policies that have been pursued.